Hi there, my name's Jane Anderson, and this is the Jane Anderson Brand You Show. It's the podcast for experts who want to have greater impact, influence, and income for their businesses and careers. As experts, we know that people buy from people and work with people who they know, who they like, and who they trust. So I'm so glad you're here because it's that time again now to really amplify how you show up in the world. Okay, Cheryl. Can you tell us a bit about your practice, like the context of it, and the type of clients you run? How did you start, and how did you get into it? How did you start, and where is it now in terms of who you're working with?
Okay, so it's turned out quite a deep niche practice in live online. So anything from webinars to workshops to remote team leadership and people being able to connect and be effective live online and to the point of being transformational, even if they never meet each other face to face or have very little opportunity. So I started the practice nearly 10 years ago. I came out of National Australia Bank, a big corporate, having set up all of the digital learning strategy and digital learning channels for them there. And that was a 9-year kind of career journey through National Australia Bank, where I saw the opportunity for particularly a large organisation like that, who's geographically distributed, large employee base, to be able to equalise the learning experience for employees. So whether you're in Olympic Dam or Cloncurry or far western Queensland, or whether you're in Sydney, you get the same opportunity to connect, to network, to learn, and to rub shoulders with people in the organisation. And so this particular medium, live online, does that very effectively. Now that was a good while ago. So that's 18 years I've been practicing this kind of thing. So the last 2 years has been absolutely massive because of COVID. So prior to that in my practice, the 7 years leading up to COVID, I would work with large corporates, mainly banking, retail, insurance, manufacturing, and I would help them structure their learning programs or even run large events for them where they wanted to use webinar type technology. And so I'd help them with strategy, choosing technologies and figuring out how to make it work and how to bring people's mindset and behaviours to the webcam square without them shutting it all down and people going, oh, I hate this and we don't want to do this and this won't work and my bandwidth's no good, and trying to help across all of that. So from a strategic point of view, a mindset point of view, helping organisations, and then a practical point of view, designing what are the materials and collateral you need to be effective in this environment, and what's the way that you prepare yourself, your persona. How do you bring your best self, your authentic self, to the webcam square and not be shut down like that? So it's almost like a stagecraft in some regard. Been doing a lot of that, but also had to convince a lot of clients that this could be as good as if we were face to face. And so that was my big mantra or mission. This is as good as being face to face, and we need to take that mindset, and I can guide you and help you and hold your hand to make it as good, rather than thinking, oh, we've got reduced budget or we can't get people together. And so, everybody does the deficit mindset when they approach this kind of thing. So particularly with large scale learning programs, prior to COVID, I had to sell the concept that this could be really successful and really good, as opposed to static e-learning. Now, static e-learning is, screen-based, read or interact with things, but it's not live and it's not collaborative and together. So I did a lot of work in that. And then all of a sudden, pandemic comes along, and people are ringing me up saying, well, now this is all we've got. And we know that you've been banging on about this for a long time. And you've helped a lot of organisations. These are organisations that I had helped and others that I hadn't, but they'd heard of me or found me on LinkedIn. Were all of a sudden going, well, we don't know where to go. We don't know where to start. We're feeling awkward and clunky, and we've got to deliver something in 3 weeks' time. And all of a sudden, we're not allowed to travel, and there's people stuck in places. And so, my practice actually went boom, even though I was doing quite well before that. But all of a sudden, instead of me reaching out and trying to find clients. They were piling into me, which is quite a challenge in itself, that kind of rapid practice growth. But a really good ride. So I've had 2 years of helping a lot of different clients, getting an even broader range of experience than I had previously. But one of the things I've really learned is up until probably this year, 2021, I was driven by the market, what people were asking me for, which is a good thing, because when I first started out, I didn't kind of know where the value was. And so you kind of put things out there and put proposals in, and you get feedback. And then you get people who come to you with a real specific need, and they believe in you and believe you can do it. But the pivotal thing in 2021, and particularly since working with you, Jane, has been positioning myself where I want to be with the work that I do, and understanding my own value and expertise.
Right.
And so starting with a white paper and then, writing a book has helped me mine the depth of the experience and expertise that I have. Right. I kind of carry it all around in my head, and I hop from client to client to client. And this year, putting it on paper and working with it in terms of models, constructing models, unpacking it, repacking it, storytelling, framing it, metaphors, all of that work that went into white paper first and then book has really helped me mine the depth of what I've done and understand different perspectives of value on that, whether it be client perspective, my perspective, end user perspective, which is often not the client, all of that. So that's been amazingly helpful to then go forward and shape my practice to where I want it to be, to thinking of the clusters and what I do, rather than purely being, pick up the phone and people say, yes, hello, can you help us with this? And I go, yes, I can help you with that.
Right. So the shift from, because you had great relationships, you'd built up a lot of great clients because you'd done some great work. And we always say delivery is selling. Like if you do a great job, will often result in selling something else. But it can lull you into a bit of a safe space where you feel safe, where you go, oh, good, because that's kind of the ultimate, right? Is to be able to say, I want to get to a point where I don't have to do any business development and everybody comes to me. And so if you've had what we would call order taking, where people are just coming to you and you just go, roll out another program, the impact of that is you go, oh, great, I've got 100% close rate. And, it gives you sort of those reassurances that you think you're kind of going, okay. But the challenge becomes in the growth. Like you go, okay, well, now I can't get the day rate to shift, or I can't get and so how do I do that? Because I know I can grow here, but how do I do that? And so those collateral, like particularly the book and the white paper now are really those two key pieces now that you've been able to use. And now that next step really is that newsletter, I guess, isn't it? To and the community and the tribe that you're really now getting into communities.
Yeah, absolutely. Bringing discipline into how I develop my business as opposed to just responding to the market. And it's interesting you say that order taking is comfortable. I never felt safe or comfortable because I always felt at the mercy of, is the phone going to ring at the end of this project? I'm booked up to whatever. What else is coming in? And what will I do if the phone doesn't ring? So particularly over this time of year, December, January, phone never rings. And you kind of got to, I feel like it's crank starting an engine again in February, March, trying to, where's that first client for the year? Who's ready to go versus who else is still going, oh no, such and such is still on holidays. We can't make decisions right now because we haven't got our budget confirmed and all that kind of stuff. So it was always trying to crank start the practice again at the start of a new year. And doing that without intelligence. I was kind of just, kind of ringing people. Hello, where are you going? Rather than having a book a program, a model, you know, something that has solidity and that I've been delivering and doing, having stories to tell. I had none of that prepared. And like you say, I had no discipline around newsletters and contacts. So they would just get a call from me out of the blue because I'm hungry for work, going, oh, well, what are you doing? You know, how are you going? What are you up to? You know? And so, yeah, that still working on getting that cadence happening. But I really understand now the value of that discipline, even when you're busy and got lots of client work. So I guess it's that, as well as, like I say, being deliberate about my practice and not just responding to every request and trying to put a price on it, but actually saying, here are the programs and here's what I do and here's how much it costs, and being on the front foot in terms of what I do and what I offer. And that's where I am heading now. So in the last 2 years, yes, I've been able to increase day rate and not feel like I was fishing to see, oh, will they take that? I felt confident that if you say no to that, that's okay, because I know that that day rate is solid and that other people get plenty of value from that. So not only day rate, but also understanding the value that I build into programs and how that supports price. And so, yes, I have had some people say no in the last 2 years because I'm too expensive. And normally I would, you know, prior to this understanding of my practice, I would have freaked out about that and plummeted the rate, you know, oh, please, you know, we'll do it at this rate and whatever. Now I don't feel like I need to do that. I think that's okay. You're obviously not ready for this level of expertise that I've got. Or you know, maybe not ready now, or maybe not quite suited to the kind of work I do, and there's someone else. And that's the other thing that I've developed as well, is a network of people who have come to this area of practice live online, who I guess I hesitate to say admire what I do, but you know, we've got to look at our own expertise, I guess, and are happy to do the work that is more perhaps routine sort of work that I can give them, that if I'm too busy or doing higher level you know, programs or work or higher cost work, I've got other people then who I can recommend and say, I've got a producer for you who has a day rate of this and can do that. And yeah, so that's been a fresh development as well, kind of lifting up that level and having others who will, you know, do a different level of work and I can refer to.
I love that. So really knowing your value and being able to create a great value proposition, knowing and being confident that you do bring great value and there's no need to drop your price because and then if the issue is not value, if the issue is affordability, then you can help them find someone else, like, and you're quite comfortable and okay with that.
Or even just starting with, you know, sometimes I say to people, well, you know, if they come completely blind and don't realize what I do and how I charge, and then I give them a quote and they go, oh wow, and didn't expect anything like that, I say, well, we can start with a book, you know, buy the book. It's $30. Buy the book and start there and see how you go. Then you might come along to a one-day course or something with me, and you might work up and work into it that way. And I guess there's two things about that. It addresses that affordability, but it might also give them a window, pardon me, into the depth of this field. So that's the other reason I think why price becomes a barrier. People don't realize the depth of expertise in live online. They think it's just, you know, buy a webcam, switch it on, you get Zoom, that's a cheap subscription, and then away we go, which will work for some people, but you can actually do a whole lot better than that if you put a whole lot more design thought and effort into it, and also do a whole lot more strategic thinking around who your participants are, why they've been invited, what they are expecting and how they will behave. You know, the classic one that gives me insight into that is when people say, I can't get anybody to switch webcams on. And then I rummage around and dig into, how did you communicate this event? What were they expecting? What's the general culture in your organization around use of webcams on or off or whatever? And also then, do these people know each other? Have they met before? And so you rummage around in all of that, and there's so many opportunities there to start at the beginning again, and you'll have people with webcams on smiling and going, wow, this is a great experience. And yes, you know,
Yes.
I'm happy to bring my whole self and my cat and dog in the background as well.
Yeah.
So.
I love that. Cheryl, when you first started and started to implement some of this methodology, which is around, you know, being able to get good collateral, you know, we talk about lead gen, we talk about all those things that are part of sort of that expert to influencer process we talk about. What was happening for you in terms of, say, around some of the problems or challenges or even fears that you were having that sort of triggered you kind of going, was it that you'd sort of hummed along and you wanted like the worry of that order taking, you wanted more certainty in, and predictability in your practice? Or what were some of the things that were happening for you that made you decide you wanted to put the accelerator on and grow a bit?
Yeah, so several things. Roller coaster revenue, one of them. So times are good when somebody recognizes what they want from you and they pop you on a big project and away we go. And then, you know, you hit the slump again. And I had no foundation of knowing what to do when I hit the slump again. Whereas now I feel like there won't be a slump because I'm forward planning for, you know, for how I'm out there in the market. So that was one of them. A fear of success, because that fear of what is my expertise? Am I good enough? When I wrote the book particularly and unpacked that, and that started with the white paper, when you work with unpacking your own brain of expertise and your own experience, it provides an enormous confidence level foundation of, you know, I have done this and I've done that too, and I achieved that, and that client saw that value and achieved that as a result of what I did to, you know, and that so that has kind of taken away the fear of success for me. I feared success because I thought I wasn't worthy of it. If I did really well for a client and they elevated or spoke about my work, I'd think, oh my God, you know, now there's this burden on me. What is it? So my initial word in coming to the practice was depth. I needed to mine the depth of what I'd done and focus on that and put that out there. I'm trying to think, there was one other thing you said that made me think of another fear. So I guess it was just from not steering the ship of my practice to now really steering it. It's also that I think I spoke about it a moment ago as well, that idea that everything would fall apart or in December, January, and having to restart and recrank. This is the first time in the whole time I've run my practice, 10 years, that I've actually said I'm switching off over December, January. One, have a big rest, because I've had a massive 2 years, and in that 2 years I've worked a lot of weekends and that, but it's been an exhilarating ride, some great work. And secondly, so I feel confident that I can switch off for part of this time, but also then to focus back inwards on the practice again. I need that time to go back to, okay, what's my fresh start for, you know, what's 2022 looking like? What are the clusters? What are the programs? What will go out there? Oh, the other thing, that's right, that was the other thing. The other fear I had, particularly at the beginning of 2020, was I've been doing this for, at that stage, 17 years, 16 years. I've been doing this and got deep expertise in, but all of a sudden people are emerging everywhere, becoming experts in live online because, you know, they needed to. And so you get, in terms of perhaps, I don't know if you call it colleagues or competition, whatever you like, however you like to view that, you get a lot of other people forwarding themselves out there going, I can, you know, help you run remote teams, I can run webinars for you, I can do this and all of that. And I think, and I felt fear about that. I thought all of a sudden everybody can do.
Everyone's catching up.
Yeah, catching up, or just they can do everything that I can do. And it wasn't until I did the white paper and read the book, that wrote the book, that I realized, no, actually, it's taken me a long time to develop this expertise, and I've got a lot of depth, a lot of stories, a lot of experiences that, not to talk others down, but I realized that was a selling point. I haven't come lately to this field. I haven't just hung up the shingle and gone, I can run a webinar for you. I've experienced all sorts of clients in all sorts of industries with all sorts of challenges, and help them across those and help them learn from that. So that gave me another step up in confidence and reduce that fear of, oh, everybody can do what I can do now. I'm just vanilla, you know.
So the shifts I'm hearing for you, Cheryl, are like you just said, one is confidence. The other one is you've had revenue growth, like you know, so you don't have to go into the amount if you don't want to, but you know, as a percentage, do you think you've kind of on track to, is it 50% growth, or you know, would you have?
Yeah, probably more like probably
growth.
60% growth.
60% growth.
Yeah.
Revenue.
And I think more potential beyond that once I really get clear on clusters and programs.
Yeah. Great. So, and I'm hearing that clarity, the shifts for you have been confidence, revenue growth, clarity around your value.
Clarity, definitely, yeah.
And
steering the practice rather than just
being
constantly, like you say, order taking or responsive to the market. I still want to be responsive to the market, but now in an intelligent way, as in forecasting and seeing what the market might need and having a program or a book or a white paper ready to help hook that in, rather than just thinking, well, whatever they want, they get.
And you lose your sense of identity then.
And also clients don't always know what they want, which is fair enough. You know, if they haven't had the experience in things, they don't know what to order or ask for, so they might ask for something that may not be as effective for them as something else, or another angle on it. So it's being able to be more of a consultant than just saying, yes, if you want that built and done that way, I'll do it that way for you.
Yes. The more advisory and the expertise, to say, well, actually I can do it that way, but you know, I think you're hiring me for my expertise, and you know, I wouldn't advise going that way. My advice would be, if you want this particular outcome, and feeling comfortable in that conviction, you know, to be able to say, well, no, that's not going to work, rather than go, okay, yes, please, I'll take the order, and you know, I'll just cope with that. A couple of other key things that have happened, if I think about for you, have been your hubbies come on, you now have you're now working together, which is lovely.
So that was another fear of growth. Or I don't know, like I've employed people, don't get me wrong, I had a team of 10 at National Australia Bank, 11 at one stage. I'm not fearful of employing people, I'm fearful of employing people in my own practice, because I think, can I sustain that? And I've always said when I started, I'm not building an empire here. And so this was my fear coming out of fear of growth, fear of growing a practice that was bigger than just me and my 8 hours a day kind of thing. But and so I've had an easy start in employing my husband, because you know, he's right here on the spot, and he's watched me build my practice and knows what I do, and has been really helpful. But that's opened a whole window to, yes, I can delineate between the work that I need to do and the work that I can delegate or have others help with, support. And massive learning for me to do that. I've always been a bit of a solopreneur with the emphasis on the solo, not in corporate, because you know, in corporate I was a leader and that was my role, to lead people. But I guess it's a different mindset I've taken with my own practice, and I've limited myself by that, but not anymore, I don't think.
Right. So just even your own trusting, there's a bit of trusting yourself, isn't there? That I've got this. I know how to steer this. I can sustain that position. You know, if we're going to be okay. That takes a lot of courage and a lot of guts to do that. And, you know, that's a real sign of the work you've done.
Once you've got that courage, is then thinking it through. All right, how do I set it up easy for someone else to do?
Right.
Because, you know, too long I've carried everything around in my head, and I know how to do things, but haven't documented or put things down. And don't get me wrong, I've still got work to do in that space of documenting, but all of a sudden I've got this window into, yes, if I just create this template and do this thing and have this set up well, then somebody else can come in and scoop it up and go, I know what you need, and it's just another one of those you want me to do to support you in that. And that's where I think you've been an amazing role model. You're streets ahead of me on that, but I can see now the value of having others support the practice.
Yes.
And also then I've got an insight, little bit of an insight, still learning into what's required to have that go smoothly, and to have them feel like they're owning a part of the work, and that they're truly contributing, rather than just trying to run around going, what does she want me to do now? How does she want me to do that? I'm not sure what she said. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because like you said, you're not trying to build an empire, you're trying to build a sustainable practice that you can do, because this is your life's work, and you want to do it for as long as you like. You can do this till you're 90, or you can hang up the webcam at any point that you like. But for a lot of us, this is your passion, and this is your creative, most fully expressed self. And so you're not trying to build this empire and create, you're trying to create scale, but scale that's manageable, that others can support you, like you said, but you can still try and play in your genius as much as possible, but you're making others' jobs easy enough to be able to get those things out of your head and into some sort of systems and processes that they can use.
Yeah, I've got two sets of parents who have both run their own small businesses for many, many years. So I think that gives me my entrepreneurial use. But I've seen also in both cases the business overwhelm them, and so I guess that was one of my fears. And so what you're saying to me there that I'm really hooking into is that idea that that I'm running the practice. It won't overwhelm me. I'm forward planning. I know the size that it needs to be. I've got a sufficient support and help, and and I'm not looking to, as I said, grow an empire that then becomes a burden to me. I want this still to be a work of love, working with the clients I love on the things I want to do, and still, come back to steering that ship. I'm steering this thing, and I'll do it for as long as, there's two reasons, I guess, I'm in business. One is I like the creativity, the flexibility, the ability to be in charge and go where I want to do. I'm my own boss. I'm not stuck in a corporate job where they restructure and I then get stuck in something else. There's nothing stuck about my practice and the way I do things.
Right.
So that's one part of it, and the other part is I can drive my own income. I can amp it up and work really hard and scoop in the revenue, and then at other times I can I can go, well, there's enough in the bank account now. I'll sit easy for a bit and I'll have 0 or low revenue months, and that's okay. I'm not going to panic about that. So it's kind of that financial planning bit, and certainly when I look towards when I want to retire, I feel completely in charge of that in my own practice.
Right.
Not only in terms of the workload that I can scale back when I want to, but I do really feel in charge of the revenue that I'm earning, and I know how much I need to earn over the next few years to go, well, that's enough for me, and I've got my, car and house and what I need, sort of thing.
Yeah, I love that, because really, we think about, why did most of us go into consulting? Was that sense of autonomy and freedom, and the ability to make our own choices, to be able to do what we want to do. So I love that. And that
if I share a bit more about money, I used to be in a position in corporate where I would, because I was always leading creative or innovative initiatives, I was always creating my own next role. I was never kind of climbing a ladder that was a career pathway. I was always, in the digital learning space and digital learning strategy, and then head of digital learning. I created those roles because we needed them, because I developed the work enough that it needed, and I developed roles in my team. So I always felt like I was arguing for my next salary or negotiating, because there was no role there. I had to define the role, and then I had to argue for how much I believed that role was worth and what level it was in the company, because like I say, I was always creating roles and teams and things in the work that I did. Whereas in my own practice, I don't have to do that now. I'm in charge of pricing. I don't need to speak to someone up in the executive and go, I believe my role's worth this amount of money and whatever.
Yes.
So
I love that.
I enjoy that part of it as well.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, I love my time in corporate. You get an enormous
Yes.
amount of experience in corporate, meet a lot of people, get a lot of good challenges, get a lot of juice from that. But yeah, once I stepped into my own practice, I really enjoy that. Yeah, I can dial up the revenue and dial it down as I like, much easier than I can argue for a pay rise.
Yes. Yeah. And you know the ramifications of any of those decisions. Like, you know, okay, if I'm going to increase the revenue, great. That means I've got to make sure I'm looking after myself, make sure I've got to get in, and, you know, I've got a lot to deliver. I've got to make sure I've got the right support. You know, but you can and you know, you can ease the accelerator off. You know, you can choose when you want to ease that off, as opposed to corporate demands determining when you will do those things.
And even if you find yourself, I find myself sometimes not in a position of choice, like I've landed a big contract with a tight deadline and I need to go hard to deliver that, I still feel like I'm in charge. I still don't feel like I'm working for the boss. I am the boss, you know. Even if I land a very demanding client, and I've had a few, but I actually then feel like I enjoy demanding clients because this is taking me into new challenges, maybe a new industry or a new bunch of people in it. You know, I've worked in Southeast Asian cultures in the last couple of years, and that's fascinating and challenging. And so not all easy, sometimes hard, but yeah, the distinction I'm making is when you're working hard for a boss or a big corporate, you don't always see, you don't always feel like you're in charge. When it's your own practice and you've got a very difficult client or a hard project, I still feel like I'm in charge of this. I've got the reins. I'm not, you know, I'm not a victim to this. You know?
And you know, even just other things that you've been able to do, if I think about it, like you've been, even just things like being able to, you bought your dream car recently, which is super cool. How did that feel? Like now being at that stage in your practice,
feels amazing.
It's such a cool feeling.
Every day I drive it, I think I own this thing. I never thought I would own it. And when you say my dream car, I kind of I guess I didn't dream about it. I am a bit of a fan of cars, and I've had a few different cars over my time, but I never kind of popped it up there on the vision board and went, I want to own one of those. I kind of worked hard in my practice to the point where I had enough money, and it just made good sense from a tax perspective as well, that I can have one of those. And this dawning of, oh my God, that would be an amazing car to drive, and then being able to have it. And still every day I think, wow, you know, and my husband keeps reminding me, this is your hard work. You have worked so hard that you've got yourself there. So it was almost like one day I woke up and looked around and realized how hard I'd worked and what I'd earned to be able to achieve that. I didn't kind of I didn't thirst for it necessarily, but once I got that, I went, wow. And you know, things like our beach house and that, things like that. I guess I dreamed of that more than anything, but once again, never really believed that I would have the money to be able to do that. And
sometimes you even work from there. How good is it? That?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Cheryl, you've just come so far. I'm so happy for you with what you've been able to implement this year. I know there's been you've had a lot on your plate, with particularly with COVID and the demands that you've had from your clients, but then being able to implement some of these key things. The big one was your book, white papers, absolutely, just trusting your thinking and being able to get that out and know that you've got great value, and you know, do have that transformational experience for your client. But you've done a lot of work this year. What advice would you have if someone was at that, imagine going back to where your practice was, you know, 12 months ago, and if someone's sitting there thinking, oh, Cheryl that's me now, where she was, what advice would you have for them if they're at that stage where they're wanting a bit more certainty in their practice? They've probably got some good clients, but they feel like they could be doing better, but they're just not confident perhaps in that in their expertise and their knowledge, and you know, with that next stage of growing their practice?
Yeah, I'd say flip it and follow the practice and do the positioning and the work, and the mindset will come. I used to think to myself, when I feel more confident, I will write a book, or when I lose that fear of success, maybe then I'm ready to grow my practice. Whereas I just kind of dived in and followed your good advice of unpacking and mining your expertise, you know, writing about what you do, sharing what you do, being generous with clients, and do that. And the mindset came for me. That's my advice. I think everybody might be different, but I used to think I've got to wait until I'm on the right headspace.
All those, right.
Yeah, particularly the book. I would say I need to wait until I feel confident enough to write a book, and that would never happen. I just had to get in and get mucky with it. Yes. And it didn't take very long before all of a sudden I realized, wow, I think I can actually do this. I think I can. You know, it's like that little what was that little steam engine? I think I can. I think I can. I know I can. All of a sudden you go, look what I did, and oh my God, you know. And then that just makes you want the next challenge then, because you feel like that one, a bit like running a marathon, you know. The first 10 Ks is pretty good, 20 Ks feels really good, 30 you feel like an absolute bag of shit. But I tell you what, by the time you get to 42, you go, man, I just did that. So you got to kind of get in the trenches. You got to get to the 30K mark where you just feel absolutely spent, but you think I've got a little bit and I can keep going. I think I can, and then keep going and you get there.
That's such great advice, Cheryl. I love that. So flip it. So, you know,
rather than waiting till you feel confident.
Yeah, don't wait to feel confident. Do the activities that creates the confidence.
It does. Yeah, it's like a magnet. I love that. For feeling.
What's the dream for your practice in the future, Cheryl? So what's your biggest dream or your goal for your practice from here?
Total clarity is my big dream. Total clarity about my expertise, what I do, the programs I offer. And I guess it's just a level up from where I now. I feel I have clarity now. I'd just like to go for that real crystal clear. And I see some people in your community and thought leaders and around the place who do seem to have that total clarity. Here's who I am, what I do. And so if something over here that's sort of associated with what they do doesn't really suit them, they go, sorry, but here's what I am, what I do. And I don't get distracted, I guess, distracted by noise. And I think they're very effective because of that. I think you can be maximum effective if you are clear about here's who I am and what I do and how I can help, and you know, let me help you, let me guide you. I think that's real leadership in your field.
Yeah, terrific. Well, we're so happy for you, Cheryl. Thanks for being part of the book. For those people who want to reach out or who would like to follow you, if they jump on to Cheryle E. Walker.
CheryleWalker.com. Yeah.
And you've obviously got your book live online, which you can download on Amazon. You can go to your website.
Yeah, it's on all the
stores.
From my website you can purchase a
and if they want to connect with you on even LinkedIn or something like that,
LinkedIn's my favorite. Best place to connect.
Terrific. All right, thanks again, Cheryl.
Thanks, Jane.